How's it going, everybody? And welcome to this next edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. Today, we're going to be talking with the final member of the Real Triathlon squad, Lisa Becharas, getting to hear a little bit about her life, how she got into sport, what she's working on now, some of her opinions on things that are going on currently within the triathlon world, and her dog, and things that she struggled with, multiple surgeries and compartment syndrome and coming back from injury, so many things. Great conversation. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Lisa Becharas. Sweet. Well, we'll jump into it. So the first question I love asking is, who is the person? So who is Lisa?
Yeah, great question. I guess I'm a girlfriend, I'm a
Okay.
daughter, I'm a sister, I'm an athlete, I'm a dog mom, new dog
Yeah.
mom. Um, yeah, I mean, overview, that's just kind of who I am. But we could dive way deeper into who I am. I'm an outgoing person, passionate person, stubborn person,
Okay.
super energetic, and yeah, I have big goals and big expectations kind of for myself, and
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of enjoying this road trip that's we call life.
Yeah. Good answer. Good answer. So where does the deep drive for big goals and self expectations come from?
Oh, we're diving in deep. Where
Mm-hmm.
does it come from? I don't know. I think since I was like a small child, and I've always been super, probably overly competitive and very
Sure.
driven, mostly revolved around sports and athletics. I wouldn't say that I was ever the most like driven in school, and like I'm like I need to get straight A's. I was never that type of person.
Yeah.
My grades were fine, but I was never like I need to
Get an
get a
A.
4 up. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so I think it's just driven from, from when I was little. And maybe it was because I'm the youngest of three. I have an older brother and sister. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just the annoying younger sister that always wanted to steal the spotlight and get attention on me. So I
Yeah.
think I, yeah, I think a lot of that was started, just from how I was raised and in my family dynamic
Sweet.
situation.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into some of that. I do have some questions about family and dynamic. But the next question, just to get a little bit, I guess, to not dive so deep so fast. I'm actually a little out of practice. I haven't done this now, and it's been like 6 weeks because I took some time off for the holidays, and I come in here, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. We need to like take it a little slower at first. So my next question is, where are you from?
I am from Northbrook, Illinois. So it's a
Okay.
suburb of Chicago, about 20-30 minutes north of Chicago. I grew up
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
Born and
very
raised, like from zero to.
pretty much we lived like my first 2 years in the town over in Glenview and then moved to Northbrook. So pretty much since then I've been or since I was 2 years old, I was living in Northbrook. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know much about like the northern suburbs of Chicago.
It's
Um,
cold and snow. That's all I know.
yeah, and it's have you've seen Mean Girls, right?
Yeah. Should
So that's
I? Should I? Yeah, say that I have.
that's like based off of Evanston, Illinois.
Okay.
But kind of that, which is probably 15 minutes away from where I grew up, but that kind of whole um I don't know. It's a very well off area. A lot of those
Sure.
northern suburbs are very, very well off. There's a lot of money there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it was a great place to be raised and very safe, great schools. But it's a place I knew that I never wanted to live. Like
Mm.
after college and whatnot, I was never like I'm going back to Northbrook. It's someplace I had my time there.
Yeah.
Never need. I don't even really have to go back and visit.
Yeah. So you're in Boulder, Colorado now, correct?
I
You were?
was up until September. Now
Oh,
I'm
okay.
actually in Fort Collins, so just an hour
Oh,
north of Boulder.
okay. Good deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Siblings, you mentioned that you had a sister. You are a sister, correct?
Yes. I
Okay.
have a sister and a brother.
Okay, nice. So where are you in the lineup?
I'm the youngest. So
Okay.
my brother and sister are twins and they're 2 years older.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah.
Do you keep up with your siblings? Do you go visit them often? Did you spend time with them over Christmas, New Year's?
We did spend time together over Christmas. Everyone actually came out to Fort Collins. My sister lives about 45 minutes south, in Longmont with 18 kids and her husband. It's not 18 kids, it's 4 kids, but it feels like 18
Okay, I
kids
was gonna say, wow,
when they're
good for
all
her.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a flock of children. Yeah, so she lives about 45 minutes away. My brother lives in Boise, Idaho, and then
Oh
my
yeah,
parents live
beautiful.
in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Uh, so we all came out for Christmas, but I probably see my brother once a year. I probably see my sister, 5 to 10 times a year, even though she's so
Okay. Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
So I would say that my siblings we love each other, but we're not super close. We're not those type of siblings that are like texting every day or like, let's
Yeah.
hang out. We're all very, very different
Hmm.
personality wise and interest wise. Um, so yeah, but we make it work, and I think it's just we just have a different family dynamic, and not
Yeah.
yeah, not really that super close knit thing. My boyfriend makes fun of me because my brother and I are in a family phone plan, and pretty much that's like the only thing we text about is like, hey, how much I owe you? What's the monthly payment or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever?
Yeah.
Like, that's all you like text about. I'm like, I don't know, what else are we gonna talk about?
Yeah. S- So, what does everybody else do? I guess first, what do your parents do?
Um, so my dad, well, I don't think my dad will ever like fully retire, but
Okay.
from the time that he was like in high school, we had a family wholesale produce business. So his dad started, or was it his grandpa or
Okay.
his dad? I don't remember who actually started it, but wholesale produce business. So he did that up until 2008, when kind of like the economy
Yeah.
started to like tank and things started to happen, especially in the wholesale produce business, where
Mm-hmm.
they changed a lot of requirements with like how you track vegetables and fruits and
Mm.
produce and where they come from, and it has to be way more detailed. So he kind of got out of that. And then for a little while, he was buying foreclosed houses and flipping them and then
Yeah.
reselling them. So he's a
Yeah.
super handy guy. But now, when he was in that flipping houses type of thing, he learned that there was a market for like these two code hand railings. So, you know how, like, in a house, you need a lot, like, stairs have to be like to a specific like code
Yeah.
to
Spec.
pass
Mm-hmm.
inspections. So there's like specific hand railings that sometimes have to be to code. And when he was flipping these houses, he learned that there really weren't selling like welded hand railings online. So he taught himself
Interesting.
how to weld. And now he has this
Wow.
like random Amazon storefront that he like welds these hand railings and sells them. So yeah, that's what he does.
So,
And
entrepreneur, it sounds like.
yeah, I mean, I think he's probably one of the hardest working guys I know,
Hmm.
that I've met in my life, because when he was working wholesale produce, he would get up around 12:30 a.m. every day and probably wouldn't come home until about 2:30 p.m. So,
Oof.
yeah, crazy. And he would sleep from like 2 to 6. He would be home for dinner, or like, be awake for dinner, see our sporting events, and then go to bed at 8 p.m. So he's like really crazy schedule.
Wow.
Um,
Interesting. I'm gonna ask about your mom in a second, but I'm curious, and I have a couple of questions that kind of circle around this to get some understanding. How do I pronounce your last name? That's the first one.
Becharas.
Becharas.
Yeah.
Where are your parents from? And where's your dad from?
My
Like, what
dad
is
is
his story?
from Yeah, my dad is from Skokie, Illinois, and my mom is
Okay.
from Evanston, Illinois, so still northern suburbs of Chicago.
Yeah.
But my dad's side is Greek. So my great grandpa came over from
Immigrated.
Greece.
Okay. Interesting. Where do you think your dad got that like super driven? I mean, those are wacky hours. I don't know how you
Mhm.
sustain that. Obviously, he didn't do it forever, but I'm just
I
curious.
I
Like, yeah.
I think it's my grandpa who came over from Greece, barely spoke much English, but and I think he started work out by like working on the railroads, and then somehow got into like wholesale produce. And then my
Okay. So
grandpa
it was a
got
thing.
into
Yeah.
wholesale produce. So it was a family business. And I don't know. I think that's just what they did when they were like, teenagers, is that they worked for the business and just kind of learned that hardworking, crazy hour type of thing. And that's like that blue collar, like we
Yeah.
work really hard. We work with our hands. We wake up, we work long hours type of kind of work ethic that was drilled into him.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it seems like it's been passed down from generation to generation now.
I mean, I think so, but in a very different way. Because if
Yeah.
I tell my dad I'm going for a 4-hour bike ride, he's like, "Why? That sounds so awful. It's so boring."
Yeah. So
uh,
anybody else in the family ever done triathlon?
my sister definitely not. My brother, I actually don't know if he's. I don't think he's done a triathlon, but he's run marathons before and done
Hmm.
like ultras. And now he's dating this new girl, and she's like really gotten him into like more of like the ultra running, trail running
Yeah,
type
there's
of stuff.
motivation. Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't really have any interest in doing a triathlon because of the swimming part. So
Yeah. That's unfortunate. Yeah, but that's a lot of people, I feel like.
right, right, and
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's why I'm always like, anytime I see kids, I'm like, you make sure that they keep swimming. Don't ever let them quit swimming because they're
Yeah,
gonna hate
seriously.
you if they ever want to get in triathlon later in life.
Yeah. Oh, it's super interesting. So your mom, what did she do or what does she do?
Yeah, so my mom was pretty much the stay-at-home kind of mom. She had like some side gigs here and there. She's super artistic. Like so
Hmm.
now I wish I had like paintings around, but she's amazing like painter, amazing artist. She makes like if you ever need like greeting cards or birthday cards and stuff, I have like
Really cool.
hundreds of them sitting around. So she's super crafty, but she was the one who stayed home and pretty much put up with us three children.
Yeah.
Try to stay sane.
Yeah, for sure. That's a serious job. So who were you more like as a kid, you think? Your mom or your dad?
Um, I probably my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely see different parts of me in both my mom and my dad, but I'm definitely more of a daddy's girl.
Hmm.
And it's just I just think we have a little bit closer relationship, or just because I think we have a little bit more in common.
Yeah.
But I love my mom, but she's just she's like more of like the artist brain. Like
Hmm.
I don't know if it's like the left side or right brained or whatever, and I'm kind
Sure.
of more of like the task oriented, like
Yeah.
more clean cut type of things, not less of the creativity
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
my means.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it seems like either you've worked with him quite a bit or you find a lot of interest in the same things he does because not many people know about like when it comes to building code for stairs and handrails and you were telling me some of the details about the wholesale food business or produce business and like those are I was actually wondering if you worked in all of those businesses with him.
Oh no, I'm happy you think that though. I think my dad would be impressed that I know like a sliver of what he did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Be like, I didn't even know you knew that what code meant.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, but no, never worked in those, and just yeah, more so recently. I think I've learned more about what my dad did and
Hmm.
does as I got older, opposed to like when I was younger. When I was younger, I was like, oh, dad leaves and he comes back and he's at my volleyball game and then he goes to bed at 8, and that's just normal. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
dad goes to work. I don't know what dad does at work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's most kids. But that's super cool that he even went to your games and stuff, even with such a wacky schedule. And I'm sure that is formative actually. When dads, moms are all present for those things, I think it makes a huge impact for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, they did a great job. Like we had family dinners pretty much, every night, and so that was kind of a big thing growing up. And but yeah, they were at every game that they could be at, which was, that was, looking back now, very important to me and to my development.
Yeah, for sure. So what were you like as a kid?
Ah, um, I was very, very competitive. I think if I try to put it in the perspective of my parents, if they were to describe me, how they would describe me. And I think that they would say that I was pretty competitive, um, very outgoing, um, stubborn, um, and just I like to always be busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'd probably just call me like a little sports person. Like
Yeah.
that's just what sports are is Lisa doing this today?
Yeah.
What's she doing? And I was a big tomboy as well. So my sister gives me a hard time because probably through all of elementary school, Like
Mhm.
I looked like a boy. Like I dressed like a boy. You know those like rip off pants like those
Yeah.
basketball players wear?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty much like what I would wear to school every single day. I'd wear
Nice.
like soccer shorts and like my soccer t-shirt tucked in and those rip off pants, and I was probably
Mhm.
like a dirty little kid where I wore like the same three outfits all week to
Yeah.
school.
It's a
But
good
and
life.
then I know, right? It's way more comfortable than girl clothes.
Mhm.
And then when I got to junior high, that's when my sister would make fun of me. She's like, "That's when Lisa became a girl." Um, because I think I was like, "Oh, there are boys that exist, and I want to impress them." And
Oh,
uh,
interesting.
yeah, so definitely turned more into a girl, but would definitely say that as a kid, I was very much like quote unquote like a tomboy
Yeah. So
type
what was your
of.
first interaction with sports and competition? Because it sounds like that came from a pretty young age.
Yeah, when I was little, I played a lot of soccer, a lot of like park district soccer. I swam a little bit. I played softball, played volleyball, ran track. So I don't know what my first, I did taekwondo for a
Oh,
little,
sweet.
did like gymnastics. Um, and I think, so I don't know what my first sport was, probably like soccer or t-ball or something. But
Sure.
yeah, soccer is what I played pretty much, was like kind of like my life up until about sixth grade.
Yeah.
And then there was a co-ed. The junior high team was co-ed. And I wanted nothing to do with that. I was like, I don't want to play with the boys. They're not going to pass us. Like, this is a bunch of crap that, like, why can't the girls have a team?
Yeah.
And then I started playing volleyball. And I played volleyball all throughout high school, which
Volleyball
was,
was not co-ed, I assume.
it was not co-ed,
Okay.
thankfully.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
school did you go to where they had like co-ed for soccer? That's interesting.
I don't know, just field like the public middle school. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
just a co-ed soccer team, and I don't know. I was like, this is annoying.
Did
I
they like
like
sorry, did they play against other schools as co-ed?
I think so. And you needed like a certain number of girls and guys on the team, like or on the field at a specific time.
Interesting.
Like you needed like probably 3 girls for every 10 guys or
Yeah.
however that worked. But I was really turned off by that. And I still to this day, I'm like, Mom and Dad, you should never have let me quit soccer. I could have been really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I was saying when I think of like professional soccer, women's soccer players, like you seem to fit the stereotypical mold. I hope that's not a bad thing, but you seem
No,
like you could still play pretty well.
no, I would be awful. Yeah.
Really?
I used to say, kind of what I like to say is I used to be way more athletic until
Hmm.
I started running. And I ran cross country and track in college. And I
Okay.
think that up until then, I was like a pretty good athlete. I could jump, I could move laterally, I can hit things. And ever since I started doing this like linear, endurance sport,
Yeah,
I've
moving
been way
forward,
less
everything.
athletic. Yeah.
Yeah. So sixth grade, you quit it. You're doing volleyball. You did that through high school until college.
Yep, I played volleyball and ran track.
Okay.
So in high school I played 4 years of volleyball. I did
Okay.
indoor track all 4 years, and
Okay.
then my freshman year I played softball. My sophomore year I played soccer, and then someone kicked some sense into me and I ran track, outdoor track my junior and senior year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Was that your favorite? Did you like that more than like the volleyball and soccer and stuff like that?
No, I loved volleyball the best because I
Yeah.
loved the team atmosphere and the team.
Mm.
I just love team sports. I think there's so much excitement around it, and be able to share wins with a lot more people, I think is just a little bit more impactful. But I definitely excelled more at track, just especially in like the high school, I guess junior high type of world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking at your college and high school experiences, um, some people like both, but oftentimes I've talked with people and it's like, oh, high school was like the time I'd go back to high school, or oh, college was the time I'd go back to college. Which one was that for you?
I loved high school. Like high school
Yeah.
was awesome, but I'd go back to college in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
College is so fun, and it's also that's such a weird world because it's the first time you're away from your parents,
Mm,
your life, and like you grow so much as a person. I
mm,
think over that period of time that you're in college, and you learn a lot, you make so many more mistakes. you kind of for the first time are more in charge of like who creating your own friend groups, I
Mm,
think. And you're just introduced to so many different new experiences.
yeah.
But yeah, college was a freaking blast. Loved college, but
Yeah.
I shouldn't go back. But if I did go back, I'd probably be a lot smarter and
Yeah.
maybe a little more like blinders on with athletics.
Well, it seemed I read you did a master's degree in biomechanics. Did you do college as like undergrad, take a break, come back, get your master's type of a thing, or was it full and through?
No, it was full and through. So undergrad, I ran cross country and track during college at a
Okay.
small Division 3 school in Indiana, and I got my undergrad degree in exercise science there. So
Okay.
like sports, again, the theme of like my life has been like sports and
Yeah.
exercise. And after when I was a senior in college, we had a graduate assistant, which is basically like an assistant coach for the cross country and track teams, but they were pursuing a master's degree and coaching at the same time. And so there's like teaching assistants, there's graduate assistants at the athletic training, graduate assistant type things at the college level.
Yeah.
So after I knew that position existed, that's something that I pursued my senior year of college, and I started applying to programs that had graduate assistant positions. And I took a job at Illinois Wesleyan University right after I graduated and was a graduate assistant for the cross country and track teams there as an assistant coach while pursuing my master's at Illinois State University.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah,
Do you coach now in any way? Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I have my own just triathlon endurance coaching company that I started about a year and a half ago now, I
Yeah.
want to say. Yeah.
Yeah. How's it been going?
It's good. It's something I'm super passionate about and really um enjoy. It's also very different than coaching collegiate athletes
Mm,
because most of the athletes I'm coaching, well, they're all adults, and so
yeah.
they're aged anywhere between like I don't know what the youngest person I have. I think we're all in our 30s now. Like 30 to 75 is kind of like the age range of people that I'm coaching. And so it's different. Instead of trying to make this like team focused atmosphere, it's just very much focused on our coach athlete relationships and how can I help that athlete. And but it's something that I have missed a lot in my
Mm,
life from when I was coaching collegiately. It's kind of this void that I haven't had to or I've had to fill, and
yeah.
so that has really allowed me to kind of get back to some doing something that is meaningful and impactful on me.
Yeah. I'm curious, through your coaching experiences, whether collegiate and otherwise, have there been times when you thought, I think I'm going to give this up? Or have you always been like, no, I just love this. Like every part of it, it's just, I want it.
Yeah, so I actually did give up coaching in 2000. So I coached at Illinois Wesleyan University from 2012 until December 2020 or 2017. So I
Okay.
coached collegiately for 5.5 years. And then I was like, I'm going to be, be a professional triathlete and move to Colorado and do that whole thing. So from beginning of 2018 up until 2022, I didn't coach. So for about 4 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say like a couple times while I was coaching collegiately, there were times where I didn't want to, but it wasn't because of the athletes. It was because of everything surrounding like the job. Coaching collegiate cross country and track is super hard,
Mm,
and it's because you're at least at the level I was coaching at, we coached men's and women's cross country, men's and women's indoor track, and men's and women's outdoor track. So you're basically in season from August through June, like the end of May. And
wow. That's
that's
long.
and at the same time, on top of that, you're hosting, cross country and track meets, which is a lot of work. And you're recruiting. So you're making phone calls every night, every other night. You're texting high school kids. You're talking to parents. You're touring families around on campus. You're trying to wine and dine them and give them reasons why that like they
They should come.
this is a great program and we'd love to have them a part of program. That is a lot of work. So a lot of the stuff around coaching that comes with like the collegiate world is exhausting.
Yeah.
So, but I do love it, and I hope to get back to collegiate coaching one
Oh,
day.
really?
That's something I'm really passionate about, but I want to coach NCAA triathlon.
Yeah.
It's one gender, one season, and I think it just allows for a little bit more life balance.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it seems like that's growing more and more. I've had a couple conversations with Victoria Brumfield and oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his name. I can't remember the guy's name, but anyway, he works up there in like who is it?
Greg Yant, USA
Yes. Yes, yes,
USA.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes, sorry. So, yeah, I was talking to them, and it seems like they're putting a lot of emphasis on a lot of those programs that eventually funnel into NCAA and then obviously beyond there and Olympics and things like that. So, yeah,
yeah.
it could be before too long. Have you been keeping a tab on like when you might go that direction, or is this going to be like post professional career in triathlon world?
I think that'll be post professional career in triathlon world, just because we have such a small, like, timeline to really try to do this well.
Yeah,
So I think that'll be down the line, and because I want to be able to do triathlon really well, and at the same time be a really productive and effective coach. And I think it's really hard to do both.
yeah, for sure. So let's go back a little bit. I guess probably post college, you're working a little bit. When did you have this interaction with triathlon? And then how did that go from, oh, this is a sport to, oh, maybe I could be professional at this?
Yeah. So this is really funny. At my 10-year high school reunion, which I went to and was the first person there, I do not
Oh, really?
recommend to be the first person.
Wait, what do you mean first person? Like at a meet and greet? Like you're there 5 minutes early before everyone gets there? Or what do you mean?
Yeah, I was probably there like 15 minutes. Like, I was probably there on time because I'm a pretty punctual person. I like to be
Yeah.
punctual. And it was like at a bar in Chicago over Thanksgiving break. And I remember I was literally the first person to walk in, and I was like, oh no, like I'm the first person to show up to my 10-year high school reunion.
You were
Granted,
proud. You wanted to share.
maybe something like that, but I was like, oh, I don't keep in touch with many people from high school.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah. But anyways, when we were seniors in high school, we filled out like a time
Tin-
capsule or whatever
Oh,
that we
cool.
opened, which was really interesting. And I think one of the goals that it had that I would do in 10 years from now was like do an Ironman triathlon, which is
Oh,
really
really?
weird because I only knew what triathlon was. I hadn't done one. I think one of my brother's friends did an Ironman, and I was like, oh, that sounds something like I would do. So
Oh,
I think
wow.
there was triathlon in my mind back in high school, but it wasn't until 2014 where I actually did my first triathlon. And the only reason I did my first triathlon was I had just finished my graduate assistant years. So I finished grad school, and all my only friends in like Bloomington Normal, where Illinois Wesleyan University was,
Hmm.
were the other graduate assistants. So like the men's basketball graduate assistant, the football graduate assistants, the basketball graduate assistants were like a really fun group of friends. And they all got different jobs at different universities. And I actually stayed at Illinois Wesleyan to coach. And so I was like, I'm going to have no friends all summer. Like, what am I going to do? So I signed up for a half Ironman in August. And that's kind of and I didn't have a bike at the time when I first signed up. I was like, hopefully mom and dad will lend me a couple $100 to buy a bike.
Nice. What did you end up using?
I bought like a used Cannondale aluminum frame road bike that we like
Nice.
threw some like,
Aero
aero
bars.
bars on, and like no bike fit or anything. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, this looks good. So my aero
Yeah.
bars are probably like 5 feet apart.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I actually did my first triathlon 2 weeks before that half Ironman because there was a local like endurance or triathlon club in town, and they were like, you should really do a triathlon before you do like a half Ironman, just so you know what like a transition is and
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
how
yeah.
things work. And so I did, and I think I was the first overall female at that like sprint triathlon,
Oh,
but it
good
was
for you.
a very, very small, like middle of Illinois triathlon. Um, but I coming from a running background, you know how like runners like they pin their bibs
Yeah.
onto their uniform. I like pinned my number onto my like triathlon top, swam in a sports bra, like put a tank top on the bike. Did
Nice.
I mean every rookie mistake that people make, I've probably done.
All those
So
watts down the drain.
exactly. And eating, who eats in a freaking, half Ironman? You're not who I had no idea what like eating was or fueling was.
Wow.
I think I had some of those like jelly sport beans on the
Yeah.
bike. And there was
For
some water.
for the 70.3?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a very humbling experience. Humbling and
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, do you remember your times and the
yeah.
feeling of almost dying?
Oh yes. I remember I think I probably swam like 34 or 35 minutes for the swim.
That's still
I
pretty
want
good.
I would like it was respectable and it was
Yeah.
uh then I think I biked 2 hours and 45 minutes or something. But I remember being so mad on the bike because I'm a competitive person. But there were people like old people in their like 60s flying by me
Just
on those like
zooming by.
rocket machines with disc wheels and
Mhm.
stuff. And I want to say I ran like an hour 45 or so. So I think my total time was 5:10. I won my like 24 18 to 24 age group and
You do
um
realize that's really fast for your first one, like,
looking back now,
not
I think
eating. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I just remember like, and I did this. I've never walked in a race before. I remember like there were two big hills on this like steelhead course. And I remember I like walked
Oh,
up
yeah.
them and felt like I was such a pathetic person. I was like, I'm walking during a race. Who am I?
Yeah, what age group was this then that you were in?
I think I was 24 at the time. So I was like the 18-24
Yeah.
age group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you must have done, pretty well, I would assume, in terms
Yeah.
of placing in age group?
I won that age group.
Oh, you did? Nice.
Yeah, I won it, and yeah. But I was when I finished, everyone's like, "When you're doing your next one?" I'm like, "When I forget how bad that hurt."
Yeah. Yeah,
So it
30
took me a
minutes
couple
after.
years.
Yeah.
Took
Oh, it actually did. That's impressive.
3 years before I did another 70.3.
Okay. So it the next one then you were like, "Oh, maybe I should start going into this as a thing."
I think I finished like 2014. And a lot of people in town were like, you could be so good at this. Like you should get a coach, you should train. And I'd run year round and I'd only swim and bike in the summer, like June to August. Those are my like swim and bike months, probably for 2015 and 16.
Wow.
And then in 2017 is kind of when I was like, oh, maybe I do kind of want to be like better at this. That's when I got a new bike. I was an ambassador for a wheel company, so I got some cool race wheels.
Okay.
And I started like I had an indoor bike trainer. I did master swimming, so that's kind of 2017 is the year that I was like, I want to see if I can be good at this type of thing. And that's when I did my last amateur race was North Carolina 70.3 in
Okay.
Wilmington. Yeah,
Yeah. And
and
that is when that you qualified for the elite card at that race? Is that what happened? Or that was just your last race this year?
that was my last race as an amateur. I qualified at. Do you remember the Escape series?
Mhm.
I
Well, they
don't.
still
It's
have
like
one of them, I guess, Escape Alcatraz.
yeah, they still have the Escape from Alcatraz, but there was a, like Escape Des Moines, and they had a
Okay.
pro field there, and I won. I was the first overall amateur, so that's actually when I got my elite card. And then I think the next race I did was the North Carolina 70.3, and then there was no pro field there, so I just won the overall amateur
Nice.
race at that one, which
Yeah.
was a downstream swim, which I'm all about those downstream swims.
Hey, yeah, are you doing Chattanooga this next year? I don't know if they do pro
I
field
don't know.
actually.
That's TBD. But also, I think in Chattanooga, don't they make you like swim upstream a little bit before you
No,
go
not
down?
anymore. No, because they did that. I think they did the last time they did that was at the Worlds when Worlds was here for 70.3 Worlds.
Yeah.
And even the pros were having such a hard time going up. And then there was just, it was a mess. I forget how many people DNF'd on that swim, but it was something crazy. So now it's just a full downriver. They extend it. It's instead of like 1.2, it's like 1.36 or something. But
Okay.
you can swim that thing in like 23 minutes. It's just, or less. It's just so fast.
That sounds so
Yeah.
fun. I did Oregon this year, which was also
That's crazy. Yeah.
it was so fun though, because you just like you watch the bottom of the like
Yeah.
river bottom, just like
I am a god.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're seriously you're like, I'm amazing.
Yeah.
You come out of the water and you're like, great, I didn't really exert any energy, so I can like race now.
Yeah, yeah, for real. Oh man. So your race that you qualified, the Escape Des Moines, was it your goal going there? Like, what was going on in your mind? What were your goals for that race?
I think I don't know if I don't remember what any specific goals that I had for that race, but I did know that during that year I really wanted to get my like pro license, and I
Mm-hmm.
think my main goal that year was to race age group nationals and try to like finish really well. But I was super sick leading into it, and I remember like I did both the Olympic distance race and then the sprint race the next day. And the Olympic distance race, I don't think I did super well. I still think I was like top 10 in my age group or something, but I remember just being like feeling so bad that day. But then I like bounced back really well the next day at the sprint race, and I think I got fifth overall. And so that kind of made me a little more excited. But that race is so fun because like looking back at it, Danielle Lewis.
Yeah, I don't know her actually yet. We're scheduled to have a podcast recording in the
Okay.
future. So yeah.
So Danielle and I, she's had so much success. It's been so fun to follow, but we were amateurs together and we actually raced each other a handful of times back in the
Okay.
day. And the first time I knew who she was after I was like winning this race in St. Louis, like by a lot. Like, I'm like, I don't see any women. I haven't seen a woman the whole race. And it was
Yeah.
like a 10K out and back race. And at the turnaround, Danielle just comes flying past me. And I was like, who was that? Like, where did this girl
Yeah.
come from? And then, you finish your race and I'm like Googling, I'm like, who is this Danielle girl? Like, and
Yeah.
I saw she was, like an all-American runner at Baylor, and then did some like pro cycling. And I was like, oh, I feel so much better about myself now.
Yeah. That's super
um,
cool.
yeah, but so during that age group national race, that sprint race, Danielle, I think she finished. Well, we were in the drug testing tent together, and that was the only time I've ever been drug tested was at age group nationals.
Yeah.
So
Is that because they just thought you were way too fast, or is that like a standard procedure for all winners at like nationals?
I think at that age group nationals, they were taking like the top five of every, I don't know, age group or every division or something.
Yeah.
I think, or maybe
Yeah.
it was random, but they just, the first five people to cross the finish line, they were like, go to the drug testing tent. We're like, oh, wow. Kind of makes
Yeah,
me feel
here I am.
sick.
They think I'm that fast.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to go pee in a cup.
That's super interesting. So after becoming pro, I know that it in some ways limits the races that you can do. Was that ever a bummer for you? Where you're like, oh man, I can't go and race these races now. I have to go old and lead to these.
I mean, I don't know if that was a bummer. I think when I first turned pro, I was so excited to like, throw my name in the hat and see how it
Yeah,
stack up, and had really high hopes and expectations. And
yeah,
so I don't think I was like, dang it, like I can't go to this race. I was like, look at what races I can go to.
yeah,
But yeah, that first year as a pro is very, very humbling for most people. For me, it very much was a humbling year where I had lots of questions as to should I go pro? Should I have taken this? Like I have
mm,
age groupers are still beating me. Like was this the right direction for me? And that was I think yeah, it was a big year, but a hard year as well.
yeah, yeah. Talk me through like some of the, I guess, the pressure changes with the pressure you're applying on yourself, and then the external pressures, and you're like, oh, I want to, like you're saying, I don't want to get beat by age groupers. What was talk me through some of those deeper moments where you're like figuring those things out. Like, what was your first race like?
My first race was Texas 70.3 in Galveston, which I love that race. I wish there would be a pro race again.
Uh,
But I remember going down there, and I think I was just like dealing with some like really tight back tightness and stuff. And I was like,
mm,
oh, it should be fine. It'll be fine. But I just remember getting my butt handed to me. I don't know if I was like finished 18th or in the 20s pro females. But I just remember looking at the results, and like a handful of age groupers have beat me. And I was like, I don't belong here. But
mm,
it was also that beginning of the year, I think I put so much pressure on myself because I literally had just left a career that I was very successful and really enjoyed
yeah,
doing. And I moved to, from central Illinois to Boulder, Colorado. I put myself with like Olympians and like some of the world's best athletes, like in such a, in those first few months.
Yeah.
And I definitely wasn't ready for that. And yeah, I think because I was a pro and I made all these big life decisions, I thought that I like had to perform at a specific level. And when I wasn't, it was just kind of like, what did I do with my life? I've made all these poor decisions, opposed to looking at it through a little bit more of an optimistic lens.
Mm.
So but yeah, a lot of just like questioning, am I good enough? Is this the right career path for me? Like, is this even a career? Am I ever going to make money at it? Am I ever going to get better? Have I reached my ceiling?
Yeah.
And so I think, it's just taken like years of maturity and years of like reframing what my goals are and what my expectations are. And, just like putting things more into perspective to that have kind of um, just made me actually enjoy the sport a lot more and have actually had a little bit more success come my way because I think I've reframed where triathlon fits in my life.
Yeah, for sure. So when you say like you reframed it, is this like you sit down, you think about, okay, I'm going to change the way I think about this and like it clicks, or is this something that you've had to do in repetition over time? And what is it that you do to reframe? So give me a lesson in reframing because I might need help with this.
Yeah. Well, honestly, this has been like a journey I've been on for the past, I think this is technically my 6th year as a pro, that
Yeah.
it's just been on like since I first started. So I think after my first year as a pro, I, was just so desperate to like prove myself to whoever. I don't know. Nobody cared. Nobody
Yeah.
really cares like what I was doing,
Yeah.
maybe my parents or something, but that nobody cared like, oh yeah, you're a terrible person because you can't win a race. Like that nobody felt like that.
Yeah.
My second year, um, 2019, I actually, the company that I was working for at the time, I traveled the US and I lived in a van and I worked for that company and I was
Oh.
actually pretty much injured that whole year.
Mm.
Um, and so that year was really hard, but also very transformative because I learned that this is something I really wanted to do when something is taken away from you and I kind of took it for granted the year before.
Mm.
Um, I learned that it's something I want to do and something I'm passionate about. So, yeah, that year, even though I was injured all year, was very just kind of like, oh, I really want to do this. I want to get better.
Yeah.
And then I think 2020, I actually got surgery at the beginning of 2020 on my lower leg for the injury I was dealing with all of 2019. And I honestly, that having to go through that surgery and that recovery was probably a really important thing for me to have to experience because it took sport away from me without knowing if I'd ever like get back to it.
Mm.
As anytime you have like a surgery, it's kind of like, well, I don't know if you're going to come back or not. And it was something called compartment syndrome. It was chronic exertional compartment syndrome.
Where
And
at?
so,
And you're like in the lower leg, you said?
yeah, my lower right leg, so like calf shin area, they did a something called a fasciotomy. And so they just
Yeah.
like literally slice your fascia and give space for your muscles to expand while you're
Mm. Yeah.
exercising. And so my orthopedic surgeon was like, "Oh, you want to get back to like elite level sport?" And I was kind of like, "Well, yeah, no, duh. Like, why do you think I'm getting surgery?" And that kind of put some like, "Oh God,
Some
like, is
doubt.
there a chance
Yeah.
I'm not going to get back to this?" So recovering from that, and then along with that, having like the whole 2020 pandemic, world shutdown kind of
Yeah.
thing go on. Um, but yeah, honestly, at the end of 2020, I got a race, I think 3 times in some of the PTO put on some like local races.
Oh, cool.
And
Yeah.
I finished 5th at my first one. So I actually earned my first paycheck in triathlon. And
Nice.
hell yeah, I can do this. Like
Yeah. That's a huge confident boost.
$850 richer. I
Yeah.
broke even on my trip.
Nice.
And then the second race I did was down in Florida, and it was
Is that
another independent
Miami?
race. No,
Yeah.
it was like the Great Floridian. Like this was
Mhm.
in the era that the PTO was just throwing like money at any local races that would put a prize like a pro field in.
Yeah.
So I remember Jeannie Metzler won that, and I was second. And I actually qualified for the PTO championships that happened at Daytona in 2020, which was like the biggest race of the year because that was
Mm-hmm.
like the only championship
Yeah.
level race that happened. So I raced that, and that was my 2020 year. And then 2021, I was like, great. I feel like I've proved to myself that I can race at this level. And just like every year, I've just gained a little bit more confidence. And I think, I don't know if you felt like this, but like as you've gotten older, also become like a little more secure with who you are. And like, you
Mm-hmm.
feel less like you have to like prove something to whoever. I don't know if you feel like that.
It depends on what I'm doing, to be honest. In most areas of my life, yes. Triathlon is still relatively new to me, so some of the reason I asked some of these questions, not to diverge too much, was, how to reframe things. Because when I first got into it, um, I think actually my first time at Ironman was like or half was the same as yours, is like 5:10. So you're fast, or I'm slow. Who
Well,
knows?
you're
But
fast too.
yeah, so I started to find some success with it, and then I had some pretty good races, and then I like was like, okay, my goal is I want to qualify for my elite card, and then enter the biggest race I can get into, and just get my face slammed into the ground. Like that would be the coolest thing ever. So to get there, you have to get the card, and I got somewhat close last year, and I thought like last year was going to be the year, and now I was like, trying to pick up the pieces and deal with my own self expectation. So I'm trying to figure out how to not let it be so attached, because I think I put a lot of pressure on myself, and just getting back to having fun. Like I always perform much better. So I'm trying to figure out how to get back to that place where I'm like not applying pressure, but still have goals and let them be ambitious ones. So yeah. But everything but triathlon, I can totally relate. Triathlon, no, I'm such a big baby. Like I'll cry at a race. Like I did Wisconsin, and it all fell apart. I'm in Wisconsin, and I called my wife on the phone, and I was just bawling there for like 10 minutes, and it was the ugliest thing ever. I wish I could smack myself now, but yeah.
No,
So
that means it's like it matters to you. It means something to you. Like it's
yeah.
important to you. And I think like having those feelings and addressing them is super important. I think that's what I've tried to allow myself to experience a little bit more
Hmm.
through like the setbacks that I've had over the past few years. Um, but I don't know. I think it's everyone's just such on this individual journey that and it's we put this pressure on ourselves that comes from nowhere. And
Yeah.
I know some people are like, oh, diamonds are made under pressure or whatever that dumb
Yeah.
quote is. I'm like, okay, great, but like other things are made not better like under not pressure. Like some people
Yeah.
really perform well like when they're in a relaxed state. And I think that's for me when I'm at a starting line and I'm like dancing and I'm chatting to my friends, like, and I'm kind of like in this relaxed mode is when I perform the best. And
Yeah.
when I
Same.
don't have expectations going into races.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that's just something that for me still, I have to still like practice.
Hmm.
Um, but for me, it's just like I need to have fun in this sport. And like because I think this is the coolest job in the world. It's like I can
Oh
exercise
yeah.
all day. Like if I can make
Yeah.
a living doing that, like that's the coolest job in the world to me.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's just like learning how to balance expectations and not to put expectations on myself. But it's so hard because it's like you want to be really good and you want to be really good tomorrow,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah. And
not in like 5 years from now.
yeah, exactly. And I only imagine it's much more difficult at the professional level, especially as you start to gain any level of success, because then you have sponsors or whoever else is who's supporting you. And even though it may not be said outright, like the expectation is like, okay, we'll help you get there. Like, but we want you to win so we can sell product type of thing. So I only imagine it would be much harder the bigger you get.
Yeah.
But that's,
I
yeah.
mean, I'll let you know when I get really big time and
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Will you
and the
still
sponsors
talk
are
to me?
demanding
Yeah. Yeah.
demanding podium finishes every single race.
Yeah, exactly. So what's that journey been like for you now? I mean, because like you've got this more mature mindset. You're going in, you're practicing how to like go into these races peacefully. You're an earning triathlete now. Like you've had some successes. Like what's that been like? Like how's it going into this next year? I know you just came over another pretty serious injury, right? Like with your surgery and
Yeah, no, I think this like the past couple years, like the past 2022 and 2023 have just like someone could probably make a sitcom about my life and
yeah,
like the amount of surgeries that I've had. Like I had 3 surgeries in a 365 period day or God day in 365
yeah,
days. Within a
yeah.
year, I had 2 hip surgeries and a shoulder surgery, which was just like it's just looking back I
Wow.
remember I was just so thankful when I finally had a diagnosis for like my hip problem. I was like,
Mm.
great, sign me up. I'm getting surgery. And actually, 5 days before that first hip surgery, I crashed my mountain bike and tore my rotator cuff and labrum in my shoulder.
Are you for real?
Yes, but the
Oh
good
my
news was
goodness.
that my surgeon, she was a hip, shoulder, and knee surgeon.
Well,
So we
now
were
we're just
just
gonna do it all at once.
exactly. It's like, let's just go. And then I started having the same symptoms in my other hip. And once I like felt that, I was like, yo, Dr. Vidal, let's let's do the other hip. Let's go. No time to wait.
Wow.
So I think it, yeah.
Who's your insurance provider? Because I think I should probably sign up with them. Like everyone. I mean, like that's a lot of things.
Is a lot of things. And yeah, no, I've now I've met my deductible, I don't know, probably like 4 years in a row. Or like out of
Yeah,
pocket max. It's been so dumb.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend, but if you
yeah,
do
for
have to
sure.
get surgery, I think just going in with a positive mindset is the way to go.
Yeah. So how when was your last surgery then? How long ago are we talking?
20 weeks ago
20
today.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
And
only know that because I look in Training Peaks and I have like every week it's like,
yeah,
19 weeks, 18 weeks
yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
hip surgery.
Yeah,
So
I gotta love Training Peaks.
yeah,
So you're like, how's everything going? Because I know you've been running again. You're getting back into the swing of things. How's the recovery coming?
yeah, it's actually going really well. This is my second week doing like full runs. So I did like a 4 mile run yesterday, which is a really big deal for me.
Yeah,
Up to like running 3 times a week, and each week we're just gonna like progress the time and ease back in that way. But I spent the first 3 weeks easing back with like walk jogs, jog for 2 minutes, walk for 3 minutes type of thing, and
yeah.
um, I've done that so many times that this is just kind of
Routine.
like something you need to check off. Like you need to go through this rehab, period. But I
Mm,
think with this rehab, I actually surprised myself a lot last season in 2023. This
hmm.
season, whatever. In
Yeah.
2023, at the beginning of 2023, I was coming back from hip surgery and shoulder surgery, and I podium finished at the first race I did at St. Anthony's Triathlon turned duathlon.
Oh yeah,
And
I was down there. I didn't know you did that. Yeah.
you were? Yeah.
Yeah, I was down there. Yep, it was fun.
Okay, that race is so freaking awesome. Like it's such a cool, yeah.
Yeah, it
So
was
like
my first time.
obviously,
I'm gonna go back this year. So yeah,
me too. That's my plan. We can
sick.
meet down there.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome.
But yeah, that's honestly like that was my first like bigger podium that I had, and like
Okay.
finishing behind Paula and Victoria Lopez was like I was like, oh wow, like these are two Olympians. Like I just finished third. That's pretty cool. I
Yeah,
just came back from like barely running or swimming. Like this is awesome. And I
yeah.
had just gotten my TT bike like 2.5 weeks before the race. Before that, I hadn't ridden TT bike for like a year.
Oh,
Um,
you're gonna win it this year. Are you planning on going? And yeah, you said you were. So let's go win. Let's go
yeah,
win that thing.
so like that was really cool. So for me heading into 2024, I am I'm super excited. I'm super optimistic, and I probably have like this level of confidence that I don't know if I should have or shouldn't have, but I do have that. I'm just like, hell yeah, I came back really strong last year. Like, why can't I come back really strong this year? And that's kind of how I'm entering the year. And my coach is kind of probably like he's trying to pull the
Yeah,
reins
pull
in.
the reins back a little bit.
Come on, let's train 30 hours a week. And he's like,
Yeah,
I want you to have a race season. So
yeah,
no.
yeah. So how many hours a week are you training right now? I'm curious.
I do right now. I've been at like 17 hours of aerobic work, and then I don't count strength. I'm very type A in that like I don't like in my
You don't count.
training peaks. I'm like just I'm not. I didn't do strength for 29 minutes. Like how long was my muscle actually under tension? I don't know. So I just my coach always puts in 30 minutes, and I always like put it back down to like, this is 0. And I just write what I do. So I probably do like 4
Nice.
strength sessions a week. So probably like 2 hours of strength. So
Okay.
yeah. So
Nice.
maybe like normal people, probably about 19 hours.
Yeah. There's something to be said, I think, about having a significant injury and coming back, because there seems to be amongst many athletes who I've talked with, whether it's having a kid or having compartment syndrome. I talked to someone else who had that, or whatever it is that you dealt with. You come back most of the time with everyone I've talked to with a roar and a vengeance, and like, I want to get out there. And I guess because you don't take things for granted as much, and you've come through a difficult time, which is a fuel for, I think, good performance. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And I think
interesting.
you learn how to like, you're just so grateful to be back. At least at St. Anthony's, I was like, I have no expectations. No one expects anything of me. I'm
Yeah,
on nobody's
it's a good
radar.
place to be.
I just want to be back, like running, like exercising and enjoying it. And I have never had more fun than I had at that race.
Yeah,
And I was like, when I finished, I was like, you have to remember this feeling. You have to
yeah,
do every race like that. And of course I didn't, but that's
yeah, yeah. Tough. Well, we'll get back, and this will be the year. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Did you run a disc at that one? Because I brought a disc, and they're like, you can't use them, and I was like, what? And then I saw the pros. I was like, come on, I should have left that thing on. So did you
Yeah.
use the disc?
No, I didn't because my disc wasn't actually it didn't had come in time. So I
Oh,
just
okay.
used I don't
Yeah,
know.
because you just got that TT bike. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I just had my NV, I think it's a 4, I don't know, 6.4. I'm saying it's totally wrong, but just
Yeah,
like the I don't know,
something.
the width
Yeah, thick.
rear.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to get into a real triathlon squad.
Yes.
The team that you are a part of with Nick Chase and other people. You were actually the last RTS member to have on the podcast for the first time. So super pumped about that. But tell me how you got involved with them and what that experience has been like.
Yeah, so this is my 3rd year on the team officially, and Leslie Smith is actually the one who brought me onto or like introduced me kind of to the team and suggested me to Nick, I think, a couple years ago. So like the first year that they had it, there Kelsey Withrow, who's a retired pro now, and then Flocka. Are you friend? Yeah, Flocka. They
Yeah, I
were
know who
like
she is.
the 6 pros on the team or 6, people on the team. And Flocka stepped away from the team for the year and Kelsey retired. So there were 2 female spots open. And so
Yeah. Okay.
Leslie's like, I think you would be like such a good fit for the team and it would be really fun. So kind of like Nick reached out to me and we chatted and kind of went from there. And it's been really fun. And this is so I just because I've been injured so much my first 2 years on the team,
Yeah.
I haven't got to see a lot of people on the team at different races and such. Like I see Leslie a lot, I see Mark a lot, just
Because
because
they're out there
they're
in Boulder.
yeah more local. And
Sure.
but everyone else I really haven't seen. Like I've only hung out with Garrick for 1 week in 2021. 2022 in 2022. That's like the only
Okay.
time I've ever spent with Garrick. We've like chatted and whatnot like since then, but like I've
Yeah.
never actually hung out with him in person outside of that 1 week at our team camp. So I'm super excited to go to Cozumel in a
Yeah.
few
That'd be fun.
days
Yeah,
and
that'll be
actually
super awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
When are you leaving? Are you going a little earlier than like the date states?
Yeah, me, Tamara, and Nicole all get there on Saturday the 13th. So we're there
Nice.
like 4 days before camp, and I'm so stoked because I think the high in Fort Collins is going to be like 10 on Sunday.
Eesh,
And
yeah, it's that cold front
not
just
about
wiped through. Yeah.
yeah, not about it at all. But yeah, the team is super awesome. And kind of going back to my volleyball days back in high school, it feels really nice to be a part of a team and have
Yeah.
support and have different individuals you can bounce ideas off of and just this shared camaraderie. And I honestly think we all compete a little bit better being on a team
Hmm.
because like this year, I don't know if it was like 19 podiums that the team racked up or something.
So many.
Um,
Yeah.
it was pretty awesome. And we had this thing going where I don't know, maybe until like the last quarter of the year, there wasn't a race weekend with one of us racing where someone hadn't podiumed. And
Yeah.
I was like, this is cool. Like, let's keep the streak going
Yeah.
type
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just an awesome group to be a part of, especially since triathlon is such an individual sport and it's often such a selfish sport.
Hmm.
Um, that it feels really nice to kind of, have people in my corner.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, the team aspect, I think it's really neat, and it seems like it's been relatively recent, like even in the past couple of years when it started to gain prominence within the sport and then the industry, especially amongst professionals, to be able to kind of band together because more and more it seems like social media and who you've got following you becomes a bit of the value add when you're getting sponsorships and all that stuff. They're like, oh, cool, you're number one in the world. How many followers do you have? Like that seems to be
Right.
the way
What's
things
your
are
reach?
going.
What's your engagement? And you're like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's,
This reel got a lot, and this reel got 10 likes. So like,
yeah.
you just
Yeah. Yeah, the algorithm is forever changing. I know that all too well from just from doing this podcast now for the past, I guess it's been almost 6 months now. It just doesn't make any sense. I put stuff out. I'm like, this is the one. This one's gonna be wild, terrible performance. And then another one where I'm like, oh, there's a mistake in it or whatever. Put it out there and then it just blows up. Doesn't make any sense to me. It's wild.
right. No, it
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense. Just go with
yeah.
the flow.
I feel like it will change more as time goes on, uh, getting away from I think follower count and all that stuff. I really do believe that because it seems like the way that corporations, especially these software companies, are adjusting things, it seems to you're able to manipulate a lot of these things, and it's constantly changing. And there's an algorithm. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of hope so.
Yeah,
Um, because I was listening to this podcast where I think like Sky Munch and Sarah True were talking, and it's they were talking specifically about like female athletes and female triathletes and how as like a female triathlete, you can't just be a fast triathlete. Like you have to be a fast triathlete and you have to be a mom. You have to be a fast triathlete and you have to have this crazy story that you went through. Where
yeah,
like the Christians and the Gustavs in the world, like they kind of have free reign to just be like a fast triathlete. And they don't need this like big background story, even though everyone has their own background story.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
so I think that just I hope that at some point results can just speak for themselves and yeah, but I don't know. I also
yeah,
for me I think the social media stuff is just a little easy, like not easier, but I'm a more outgoing person. I'm
yeah.
willing to like
Get
throw
your face
stuff
out there.
out there.
Yeah,
And I
you
try
got
to
some
care
creative reels. Yeah,
I just try to care less about like what people I'm like, oh how does this look? I'm like, I don't know, just throw it up there. Like
yeah,
keep people interested or something or not interested.
yeah. No, you got to put stuff out there and give people the opportunity. Yeah, it's interesting with the women's side of things because obviously I'm not a woman, so I can only relate so much. But it does seem like that there's a lot more to be that has to be done or that is kind of like unspokenly required of the females. I almost want to say like you guys should create a cartel and like 5 cartels of all these women triathletes and be like, oh yeah, big brand, you want to do business with me? Well, here's what it's going to take. You got to do business with all of us type of thing. Cause I feel like you guys have leverage in that point. And with the team aspect, I've started to see that happen. So maybe there needs to be like a female triathlete foundation type of
Yeah.
thing or something.
Did you watch the Squid Games or like the reality show Squid Games?
I didn't. The actual like one or they did.
No, not like the net. Well, it's on Netflix too, but they did like a real like they made it into like a reality game show.
I saw some trailers for it, but no, I didn't see it.
Okay, yeah, yeah. They have like a female alliance at some point.
Okay. Did it work?
I it kind of worked. Yeah, it did.
Uh,
Yeah, so I know maybe we should do that. We should all get the. I don't know. I have too many opinions in triathlon.
Yeah. No, it is. And it's a lot of type A's too. Not all, but a lot.
Yes, yes. There's a lot of and yeah, a lot of numbers, a lot of counting, a lot of yeah, bedtimes at 8 p.m. and things like
Yeah.
that in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I do have some questions for you from your teammates. Wasn't able to get everybody, but I do have some questions from them. So I'd like to roll through those and get your answer.
Okay, I'll do
So good. The first one is from Leslie, and she says, "Please ask her for me." And I quote, "Could you please explain how someone could prefer pina coladas over wine?"
Oh, first of all, wine is disgusting. I don't know why people like wine. It's like leaves this like bitter aftertaste in your mouth. And I've tasted all the like I've been wine tasting in Santa Rosa and I can't do it. Leslie's a wine drinker. Pina coladas are filled with like thousands of calories of sugar, and we love sugar. We're triathletes, so obviously, and it tastes like the vacation. So
Yeah.
you can't go wrong with a pina colada or
Yeah.
six.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so the next one is from Nicole. She says, ask her who her ideal triathlon partner would be in a couple of races, and then she puts a laughing emoji, and then in parentheses, she has a boyfriend now, but she was trying to get Gustav and Blumenfeld to be on her team while there was waterfall couples race a couple of years ago.
I was personally offended that there was this couples race going on and like half my friends were like competing in it because they're
Yeah.
all in like triathlon couples and like all the triathletes date each other and it's like this incestual world of triathlon love. And I was like, this is so gross. But also I went $10,000 to participate in this race. So like who wants to pretend to date me? And then yeah, I was on Instagram or something. I was like, Christian or Gustav, like you guys want to be my pretend to date so we can get into this race.
Any responses?
Well, I think on the Pro Tri News
Okay.
podcast,
They mentioned it.
this was funny because on the Pro Tri News podcast they had Christian on, and I think Mark Matthews like was like, oh, by the way, do you know who like Lisa Becharas is? And he's like, I have no idea who Lisa Becharas is.
Yeah.
He's like, she wants to know if you want to date so like you guys can be like partners on this like you know in this couples
Waterfall
race.
couples race. Yeah.
And they were like, and Mark was like, oh, she's not too bad looking or something. He's like, well, how about if I follow her on Instagram, it'll mean that I want to, like, I'm interested or something. So I just remember getting out of the pool after this swim. And I was like, why the F is Christian Blumenfeld following me on Instagram?
Oh, that's so
Like,
funny.
Mark had messaged me and Talbot had messaged me and he's like, it was so funny. He followed you like right away or something. And then it became this whole joke, and I've never actually met Christian.
Did you
And so like
talk to him on Instagram at least?
no, he never like I tagged him in stories and stuff. And he never responded, but he
Oh, what a guy.
I
Got to give him a
want
hard
to
time
like
for that one.
meet him and be like, Christian, this like you missed out. Like we could have been us. Like
Yeah,
I don't
that's so
but it's
cool.
just kind of this, yeah, that kind of running joke. So I don't know if I had to like date a triathlete now or like participate with someone in like a couples race. I don't, I don't, I'm not into the dating triathletes, at least
Yeah,
another pro triathlete. My
yeah.
boyfriend does, like, he's done 2 triathlons in his life. So maybe he's considered a triathlete, but, I don't know.
Uh,
You can't go wrong with Jan.
yeah,
Jan
for sure.
would be my partner.
Yeah. So, what does your boyfriend do?
He's actually ER physician.
Oh, wow, that's legit.
Yeah. So if you ever want some like good stories, he's probably the one to talk to. He
Yeah,
has
seriously, that's a stressful job. Like, if I feel like if I did anything in the medical field, like that would be something that I would want to do because it's really fast paced, and I feel like it would benefit the almost manic thought
yeah,
process that I have at times. But
and you
yeah,
get
that's really
the adrenaline rush.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But you see some crazy stuff, I'm sure. And you said you're living in where are you at again? Fort
Fort
Collins.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
I moved up to Fort Collins for him because that's where he lives,
okay,
and
nice.
he makes a little more money than I do playing
Yeah,
playing triathlon.
a little bit. Well, you could move back to that. What's the name of that town? That's like the bougie town. If you ever wanted to go back to Chicago.
Oh, Northbrook, yeah, we can go
Yeah,
back to Northbrook and have
yeah,
like awful winters.
yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, but talk about someone who has like no schedule and like dating someone who's like very regimented like me. I'm like, I want to go to bed at like 9 and I want to wake up at like 7. And he's like, well, I'm working like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. tonight or something. And I'm like, oh
Yeah,
my God.
yeah. What
So
do you do?
yeah, we actually literally just moved the bedroom from downstairs to upstairs. Which like sounds weird, but like upstairs is like away from the kitchen. So I'm like,
Yeah,
when you have like a overnight shift, you can just sleep upstairs and I can make noise downstairs.
yeah. There you go.
But yeah, the amount that I need and like a sleep required to function is like so much more than like what he can function on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he impresses me, and yeah, I've learned a lot from him, and he's actually someone I look up to a lot, with who's faced like lots of adversities and setbacks, and
Mm,
pretty cool guy. So I
yeah.
still like him.
Yeah. Good. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's really interesting. With the sleep thing, I just had to say I relate to that quite a bit because so my wife and I we live in a tiny home, like the novelty tiny home,
No way.
and we're so sick of it. Actually, it's like the year 6, and she's graduating from grad school, nurse practitioner, and we're like totally done with it.
Yeah, but
But
dude,
yeah,
you can Airbnb that thing out once you like move, You keep the tiny home, Airbnb that. People love that stuff.
Yeah, so we don't actually own it, but my father-in-law is actually thinking about purchasing it from the guy that we're renting it from for like super dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But the sleep thing aspect of it, it's like, it's exactly 32 feet long, so there's no getting away from each other. And there's been times when I'm like, honey, we gotta do something sleep wise, because like I will get just absolutely bonkers because I'm not getting enough sleep. Like she
Mhm.
was starting to cough once, and then for a few days, and I was just getting into this huge tizzy, and I was like, oh, hun, it's actually really sad. So most people, when they have couples fights, it's like the girl's like, guys going to sleep on the couch. Well, my wife, she was like, no, honey, I need you to get sleep, so I'm gonna go sleep in a sleeping bag out on like the living room floor, which we have like this little pocket door that separates our bedroom slash living room. And she did that for like 4 weeks. Just, yeah.
Oh,
Well, she had this crazy cough. I kid you not. It was like, I turn into just a devil, I guess, once I start getting to sleep and then I'm getting woken up. And yeah, anyway, I shouldn't even be putting this on the podcast because people are going to think that I'm a terrible person for making my wife go sleep on the couch. And she was sleeping with my dog too, but she liked it. So whatever.
yeah. No,
But
no, no. It's fine. She's with the dog. She's fine.
yeah, sleep is so important. He's a good dog. He's a little Australian Shepherd, and she loves him to death. So yeah,
Oh, yeah, dogs
yeah,
are so good. We just got our first dog like 2 months ago now. It's been an learning curve experience, but it's
yeah,
I'm obsessed with her. She's
yeah.
come in
Well,
the room like 8 times. She's
yeah. I
like,
thought I heard a bark earlier. What kind of dog?
she's like we actually just got my boyfriend got me a DNA test for her for Christmas, so we're awaiting the results of what
Oh,
she
nice.
actually is. But she looks kind of like black lab, pit, shepherd, collie
Yeah, a little
thing. She's
mix in
like
there.
35-pound black thing, and she's so cute.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Well, I want to get back to these questions. I have two more that I need
Yeah.
to ask you.
Okay.
First one from Garrick. He says, ask her why she's so in love with the PTO.
There's no sarcasm in that at all.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. Oh God, I don't know if I can speak to all the things on here because I'm probably going to get banned for life.
No, please
No,
do. We're not that big yet.
that's how you get big is Lisa calling
Yeah,
out the
we tag
PTO.
PTO and tag Iron Man.
Yeah. Um, I've had this my hesitations with the PTO ever since it like came about, and I think I really don't. There's so many great things they're doing for the sport, but I think, and I'm not like a business person, so like I can't speak to the business side of things, but I
Hmm.
think that the way they're approaching it is just wonkers and bonkers because they're throwing so much freaking money at the sport and to like the top however many 16 athletes. I've just heard rumors that everyone's inked a six-figure contract. I don't know that for sure, but everyone on the PTO tour is inked a six-figure contract. But yeah, don't quote me on that. That's just, the rumors flying around. And I'm like,
Well, this will
it
come
just,
out in like March, so
it just doesn't seem proportional to like what money exists in triathlon.
yeah, that
And
is some wild.
so I'm like, I feel like there's so many different ways the PTO can use money to leverage the sport. Like for me, I think developing the sport is super important. And I don't think at the beginning, they were putting a lot more emphasis on development. And right now, I think they're just like, they want to make um, these top whatever athletes superstars. And by doing that will help grow the sport and make it more mainstream and sense like
Yeah,
the quote that everyone loves that rising tides lift all boats and stuff. But um, I think the PTO can do a much better job of helping grow the sport in terms of professional athletics simply by putting on like a B level race with every PTO tour race that they're doing. It doesn't have to be broadcasted. It could be the day before the race, but it's open invite so any pro can participate. They put up like a 50K prize purse, which if they are paying these pros tons of money, like
yeah, literally
they have
six figures. That's crazy.
50K. It shouldn't cost that much more money to put on this like other, pro race like in conjunction with it. Like just have a tracker and you don't need much media coverage and let people like earn their way onto the tour or give an outlet for other pros to, I don't know, grow or develop. And my thing is, I just feel like they could do such a better job. And I get really frustrated that they keep saying like, this is an athlete owned organization. And we're like, well, what athletes own it? Who owns this organization? Like,
Yeah, who does?
I'm like, I don't think I own anything, but yeah, so I don't know. They have done a lot of great things for the sport. I mean, for me, I've made a couple grand from the PTO monies and stuff in
Sure.
2020 and end of the year bonuses one year. But I really want them to, I mean, I hope it's successful, but I hope in that success they don't kind of kill the sport of triathlon or kill the sport of like professional triathlon. And right now, I think Ironman is they stepped up a ton with their pro series, but
Hmm.
that was a big hesitation I had. I was like, this pro series, like Ironman can literally just say like, the PTO has this pro series, like you pros can just figure it out. We're not going to put on any pro races. I literally had that fear, and I think I brought it up on Instagram or something. And I know after the Ironman Pro Series was announced, Talbot came and he was like, "Look, what do you think about this? Like they did that. You thought it was going to be the end of professional triathlon." He
Yeah,
just
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to me, um, which is fine. I have been an opinionated person, and
Sure.
uh, I don't know. I think there's better ways to go about the PTO stuff, but I hope it's successful and they do put on good races, and I hope they do a good job of telling athlete stories. But I also hope they make a funnel where people can actually get into their races, and
Hmm.
I hope that there's no politics behind stuff like that. I really hope it's like top 16 athletes and it rolls down to the next person, not like, oh, this up and coming ITU girl is going to be really good. Let's just like move her
Throw
in,
her in the front. Yeah.
which
Yeah,
they've
acts more
done.
like like a federation type deal.
Yeah, and they've done that stuff with like the first Collins Cup, which I can talk for that on hours, but I won't.
You can. Free reign. This is your venting session. Welcome to
No,
Lisa's
you
venting
don't.
session.
You don't want to know, but yeah, I just hope they leaves politics out of it and let athletes' performances speak for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. From an outsider who my first real involvement with a serious triathlon was the Ironman brand, and just knowing what I know about business and then hearing some of the rumors and reading some of the facts about how they've been tossed around as a company multiple times where people are buying these balance sheets. They're just buying debt and then they're buying more debt and then like they squeeze it and then they sell it off to someone else. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future. But I feel like the PTO, they have been around longer than I thought, but they first came into the real spotlight like around 2019, 2020, and it seemed like a very in your face, I'm going after the Iron Man brand was what
Mhm.
I kind of viewed it as. And then, yeah, that like you said, there's a lot of money. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm curious what your thoughts are on, before I ask the last question from Tamara. Um, like you say you're afraid it might destroy or ruin like the pro side of the sport. Is that because you're afraid that it'll be only focused on like the very top tier and it'll kind of throw everyone else out and make it impossible for them to race because there's so much money being offered just to these certain slots? Or what are you thinking?
I think in part that, just because I can see a world where sponsors are like they only care about the PTO tour, and that
Yeah.
way that there's only sponsorship dollars are already going to those people that are making
Yeah.
a good money in the sport, and but I'm also just scared about like um and I guess this is good in the sense that like the PTO came about because kind of Iron Man and a little bit of challenge, but like Iron Man mostly housed like all the professionals. That's where professionals were racing, was with Iron Man, or they were doing like ITU stuff and then
Yeah.
some challenge races, but it was majority like Iron Man. So they kind of had a more or less a monopoly on the professionals. So it is good that
Hmm.
their competitor has come in.
Yeah.
It's just that the level of what the PTO is offering versus what Ironman is offering. And granted, the Ironman Pro Series is a super great step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But what like the PTO is still offering is so much more. So I'm just interested to see how long Ironman will put up with that, or if they'll continue to change, and that's or change and evolve. And kind of that's my hope, that they like step up and say like, great, like let's put on a middle distance focused series next year with a big prize money and whatnot. So I don't know. It's I think it's just a telling time, and I think I am concerned about how people get into the PTO tour and making
Mhm.
that a streamlined process and transparent process as to someone how someone can ink a contract for 2025. And are the PTO races still gonna count for more points next year? Like, are they gonna be like worth more points than, you know, these other races that non-PTO athletes, PTO tour athletes can actually race? So like we're already at the disadvantage of what the amount of points we can actually earn, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, so I think I'm just hoping in the next couple of years this is all successful and helps the sport and grows the sport, because at the end of the day, the bigger the sport, the more eyes on the sport, the more money is going to flow into the sport, and the healthier the whole sport
Yeah.
will be. So I do hope it's successful. But yeah, I'm hoping for like transparency and, you know, some outlets of development for other professionals as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well spoken. Well said. It gives me things to think about that I haven't even considered, obviously, from not being a pro and the different stuff that you guys are
Not
going
yet.
through. So,
Not
yeah.
yet.
Yeah. Not yet. Never going to be a source of income other than maybe if I can grow my YouTube to a bajillion followers. We shall see. Or the
Yeah, I mean
podcast. Yeah.
that's what you can do. Like there's so many ways to make money too. We could
Yeah.
just be professional influencers.
Yeah. Exactly. I'll hit you up for some tips for making some reels here soon.
Oh, I don't know if you want tips from
Yeah.
me.
So last few questions here, from Tamara. It's more of like a statement slash question. Definitely highlight, quote, her newfound mountain bike skills and how she has built some awesome bike strength around her hip surgeries. So do you want to touch on your new mountain bike
Like
skills?
skills. Well, I don't know how great my skills are, but I definitely have gotten more into mountain biking the past couple years. Mostly because it's allowed me to be in a little bit more of an open hip position, so less
Mm-hmm.
stress like the TT position.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's also so. Do you mountain bike?
Oh yeah, I love it. I
So
did my
fun.
first mountain bike race actually in November and it was such a blast.
Yeah, and that's what I did my first. I did Xterra last year
Yeah.
and Leadville 100 last year, and I'm
Yeah.
Leadville again this year, which I'm super stoked on. But it's so fun, and it's and I love riding my TT bike. Like I can just put my head down and go fast, and I think that's fun. But like
Yeah.
we don't often get to like learn a lot of new things as adults.
Mm-hmm.
And I think mountain biking for me requires so much focus and so much intentional, like you have
Yeah.
to be in the moment, otherwise you're gonna like crash,
Yeah.
because I'm not good enough to like, oh, think about what I'm eating for lunch and like go over a rock boulder. Like I have to think about the rock boulder. So it just
Yeah.
forces me to be in the moment and like find flow. And it's so fun. Like it's such a nice, I don't know, change of pace from like TTing. And my coach, he's big on just like doing things that are fun, because that's
Yeah.
longevity, like that's going to keep
Yeah.
you healthy and
In
long
sport.
in sport longer. So he's like, yeah, I was always the athlete that needed to be like to ride my mountain bike once a week to like keep it fun. And I think you're that athlete, Lisa, too. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I am that athlete. So
Yeah.
it's been really nice to have that outlet. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mountain biking is beautiful. Do you like more like cross country stuff? I guess you're, more out west. There's bigger options, but do you like the downhill or the cross country or what do you, endurance?
I definitely like I like to pedal my bike, but I like to go downhill. But
Yeah.
my boyfriend he's a much better mountain biker than me. Like he can go downhill like over stuff cool. And I'm like, oh, I'm lifting, walk down this part.
Yeah.
But so I like going downhill and going fast and stuff, but I also like don't like doing like super scary stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to expand into like more rocky and more technical stuff, but also want to respect that I've had so many orthopedic surgeries, and my orthopedic surgeon said she doesn't want to see me anymore for more surgeries. She wants to
Yeah.
see me at the finish line.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if you ever do want some of that big chunky stuff, it's more technical. So I did this race where I grew up in Brevard, North Carolina,
Yeah.
and it's called the Swank 65, and I forget how many. It's like 6 or 7,000 feet and about 30 miles up, down, up, down, up, down, 3 different circuits, and it's such a cool experience. I like want to go do more of them. I'm still trying to focus on the triathlon stuff, but if you ever want to do something super crazy where it's like
Yes.
wet and rooty and rocky and stuff like that, you have to check out the Swank 65 triple. I think it's called the Pisgah Triple Crown series. It's pretty sweet.
Pisgah triple. Okay, I've just heard things about Pisgah. My old coworker lives like near Pisgah, and like is she doesn't mountain bike a ton, but like her husband does and stuff.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, oh, it looks scary.
Yeah, it can be, but it's beautiful. And you can, yeah, you get a big enough bike. What kind of bike do you have? Your mountain bike?
I just have a cross country bike. So I have an Orbea Oeth, so
Okay.
it has like 120 mils of travel,
Okay.
but full suspension, so
Yeah.
it can do quite a bit. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there was
it's
actually some people did this race with no travel. They did on a fixie and it was single gear. Like
cool.
they're crazy. Yeah, I don't
There's
know.
the person who did Leadville on like a fixie, and I'm like, there's like 12,000 feet of climbing,
Yeah, I don't know
and
how
like
you do that.
I don't either.
You can
I'm
get
like, there were
some,
times where I'm like, I need more gears.
yeah, seriously, so you can chill.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, congrats on getting into Leadville. I know my buddy just got his email saying that he made it in. So do you just kind of get a shoe in basically?
Um, I don't know.
Do-
I just put my name in the lottery last year and this year, and I signed up for pro, but like they don't really respect like pro triathlete in that
Yeah.
world. Even though I'm like, I get it. Like triathletes have a bad name for ourselves in the mountain biking world, but also Leadville is not very technical. It's very much like a pedal race.
Yeah.
So like you should. I don't know. So I thought I was gonna be in the last corral last for the race last year, and I was like so bummed because I didn't have a qualifying race or time, but I was put in the third corral. So I really hope this year they put me in the first corral because I really want to like race with those top girls and like see where I
Yeah.
stack. And I think it's just a different, like what corral you're in like really makes a difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have big expectations or big goals for that race too. Probably bigger than I should have.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. So, all right, last question.
Yes.
And it has to do with identity. So you have been a part of this sports world for a long time. And it obviously has become a big piece of who you are and what you want to continue to do in the future. Have you ever thought about once you decide that it's time to move on, if it will be, or do you think it'll be a difficult process where you have to kind of reinvent who Lisa is and in your mind and how you adapt to that? Or do you think that that would be something that'll be not too hard?
I don't know. I've had Miranda Carfrey, Rini Carfrey. She's a big like
Yeah.
she's a friend of mine and a big mentor in that she obviously had such a successful triathlon career, and then she loves being a mom and just had her third child,
Hmm.
last month or so. And she's someone who I look up to who like made such a seamless transition. She's like, I did what I wanted to do in the sport. Like even her last couple of years racing, she's like, I don't know if I were to win Kona again, like what would that mean? Like how many times can you win a race and does it mean something more? And so she's someone who I really look up to that really has transitioned well out of
Hmm.
triathlon and is like full on like being a mom, loves being a coach, and like just is so into that. And then I see like, Dee Dee Griesbauer, who's like is she 53 now? She's going to kill me if I get it wrong. Who's like 53 and like still like doing triathlon. And I love Dee Dee to death. And I say, if I'm 53 and doing professional triathlon, somebody please come have a chat with me. Like
Yeah.
and my eyes is going to be so broken by then. Like when I'm 53, I want to be riding e-bikes to get coffee. Like that's what I want to be doing.
Now you'll still
So
be doing Leadville. Come on.
right. And I think like every year as like, and I just a competitive person, I'll want to do like, oh, let me choose like a big race every year, but
Yeah.
don't want to like be traveling the world and,
Yeah.
trying to race like 10 times a year.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if I'll struggle. I hope I don't struggle. I'm sure there'll always be a little bit of struggle to like let something go and to like finish something specifically on your terms. Like Jan Frodeno, I'm sure like he would have wished he won the Ironman World Championships and like
Mhm.
pieced out of the sport. But like, I mean, it really wasn't up to him. Like the day had other plans in mind, so he probably couldn't finish exactly how he wanted to.
Right.
Uh, and so some people have the ability to finish exactly and leave the sport how they want to, and other times we don't have that opportunity. And I think just I don't know, realizing that triathlon is not life. There's so many more things outside of triathlon that are
Mhm.
important, way more important. And yeah, so I mean, I hope I can transfer into that world in that position when the time comes into a nice non-identity crisis fashion.
Yeah. What is the most important thing to you?
Um, Probably relationships with people, and and I think also making sure that I'm happy and I feel happy and content and fulfilled. I think more so fulfilled. I want to feel fulfilled. I want to feel like I'm, making the best use of the time that I have. And I think I know my boyfriend has said a couple times, like at the end of the day, we all just turn to worms. Like we're going to turn, and I'm
That's
like,
true.
you're
We're all
right.
gonna be dust.
And I don't know, this is going to like a dark place, but
No, bring
I
it.
think the the earth, and this is so long from now, billions of years, like the sun is supposed to like die in like 500 billion years. So
Hmm.
whatever, but it sounds like way closer than it actually is. But like human beings has only been around for like such a sliver of how long the universe has been around. So I think that also puts things into perspective in the sense that, like, yeah, a lot of things matter, but most things that we think are so important and
Mm,
all consuming,
yeah.
really in the grand scheme of things, aren't that all consuming or all that important. So I think making the most of the time that we have here is kind of what we can. I don't know. I don't know. That's how I kind of feel like living life is like, what can you do? Do a little good, have a little fun, accomplish some things, and yeah. And then when it's your time to go, that you go feeling like you've done what you wanted to do and then
Yeah.
had a good time.
Yeah. Good answer. Great answer. Thank you so much for sharing. And Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and letting me ask some questions about your life, what you got going on. I know I didn't even touch on probably, but just a little bit of everything that you've got going on. But hopefully have to have you on again to hear more of the stories. But thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you again so much to Lisa and the entire RTS squad for letting me have them come on the podcast and just getting to know who they are a little bit more. If you are listening to this point in the podcast, just want to say thank you so much. Really makes a huge difference that you guys are listening and following along. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot those on our website at the contact forum or send us a message on Instagram. If you wouldn't mind giving this episode a like and a subscribe if you're on YouTube, or leaving a comment or a review if you are on any of the podcast platforms, that would be super huge to us. And yeah, just help us to continue to keep growing. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and we will catch you in the next one.